of what we do is build this belief and this trust in between our coaching staff and our athletes that really lets them know that we're on their side. You know, I think that when you're pushing them out of their comfort zones to do things that they, you know, they're not comfortable with, they need to trust that you kind of have an idea of where they might end up. And then they buy in a little bit more.
This is the Leave It Better podcast, powered by the Side Out Foundation. Here's your host, Hall of Fame coach, Janice Kruger.
Welcome to the Leave It Better podcast. Today, we're going to explore and talk with our guest here, Cora Thompson, who is the head coach at Tufts University volleyball team. She's been at the helm there. I think this is your 23rd year that we're in right. Wow.
Yep.
Sure right now. She's compiled, and I looked at last year, so I think we're now with this year's record, I think 470 wins overall in your career. A crazy 737 win percentage, Cora. That's pretty exceptional. Ranked 18th among NCAA winning active Division III coaches. You've won 2 NASDAQ titles, made 12 NCAA tournament appearances, including 3 Elite 8 runs. But what makes you special, I hear, is beyond the wins and the accolades. She's an 8-time NASDAQ Coach of the Year, 3-time AVCA Northeast Region Coach of the Year, and I think has become a transformative mentor to young female coaches across the profession. Through her summer camps and mentorship, Cora has created what her colleagues described as an extraordinary ecosystem, a supportive community where emerging coaches find their confidence, develop their careers, and learn to leave it better for the next generation. Her hashtag JVBC Gives initiative has supported 60 different charities while teaching young athletes the importance of giving back. But what's particularly fascinating about Cora's journey is that she never initially planned to become a coach. I think you were going to be a civil engineer.
Yes, ma'am.
But found your true calling in developing young athletes and helping to shape the future of women's volleyball itself through helping coaches. Cora, thank you for joining us here today on Leave It Better.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Janice. This is such an honor to be in this mix and be able to talk with you today. So and you put out a lot of stats that I didn't know. So thank you for the lovely introduction. I was like, wow, that sounds like she's been coaching a long time.
There's more, Cora, but I had to narrow it down. Okay. I mean, there was a lot more.
Well, thank you very much. I'm excited.
Yeah. So how are you?
Good.
23rd season.
Yeah, no, we're off and running, right? So boots are on the ground. We have quite a heavy road schedule this year. So we've been on the road. We were in Maryland for our opening weekend down playing at Salisbury. And then the next weekend, we just came back from Stevens Tech in New York, New Jersey. So, which was great. Some of my girls had never even seen New York City. So I know we weren't in New York proper, but to be on the Hudson and look across the river and see that skyline is just something. So it was really, I felt like we were driving a tour bus a little bit, but it was, it was so exciting for them. And then this weekend we go to upstate New York. So NESCAC competition starts for us.
You do? Okay.
Yeah. So we start conference play this week, and then we'll get a couple games Friday and Saturday and back Saturday night. Yeah. So you know how it is, Coach. It's rinse and repeat this time of the year.
Yes, it is. That is no lie. I always called it the roller coaster ride. You know, you didn't know if you were on the high side or the low side, but you just kept rolling.
Yeah, you sure do.
So Cora, just doing some research on you and talking with you, I love to hear that you were a 3-sport athlete in high school, a 2-sport athlete at Tufts.
Yeah.
In softball and volleyball at Tufts, but also added basketball in high school. And I love that, your mentality and having gone through that as an athlete yourself. How do you think that helped you in really kind of understanding kids today?
I think it's a great question. I think that I wish more student athletes could have more time as a multi-sport Even just in the arts, I was actually talking to our baseball coach this morning, talking about how I did ballet for the longest time until I had to choose between point shoes and cleats. Because you needed the commitment, right? Like if I was going to be on point, which is the dream of every little ballerina, right?
Yeah, right.
Go on point, you have to practice every day. But I didn't want to give up softball and all my other stuff. And I was like, dang it, I chose cleats. But I do think that, I have a couple of dancers. I have an Irish step dancer on my team. I have another girl who was in ballet all the way till freshman year in high school. So I do think that, first of all, I know I'm kind of getting away from your question a little bit as we're just getting out of the gates, but I do think it's important to have these different experiences, right? To understand how our bodies can work. I think that overuse injuries and, that kind of stuff can be such a concern, and burnout just in general. So I think if anything, doing all those different sports, right? There's different strategies with different sports, but there's a lot of general themes that will always kind of transcend no matter what sport you're playing or what goal you're trying to achieve as a group, right? So there's group dynamic issues that I don't even care if it is a sport. Just, it could be out in the working world. We talk about that. The ability to work with people towards a common goal is so important. Yeah. So I think I just got a lot of opportunities to do that in a lot of different scenes with a lot of different leaders. So I think, when you're a 3-sport athlete, I have 3 different coaches in high school, and then I'm playing club sports. Were just starting out. I'm aging myself, but it was just starting. And so I think when you have a lot of examples and you see a lot of coaches do it well and do it differently, it kind of gave me a broad foundation that I didn't even know I was absorbing at the time, right? Of how you can find success and how it can be different depending on the group of athletes that you have at any given point too, right? Or a different group. If you have I was on teams where we were senior heavy, then I was on teams where we're really young, and just watching a coach navigate that and still help us find success, I think was huge, and taught me a lot about mental flexibility. Like I said, before I even knew I was absorbing it. And then coming here to Tufts, it was interesting because I had the same coach for both sports, because I think we had talked about this prior, but 80s and 90s, a lot of coaches, men and women, coached 2 sports in Division III. And my head coach, Chris Herman, did both. She did volleyball and she was my softball coach. But what was interesting is, even though she was the same person, I felt like she coached the 2 different sports differently and the groups differently.
Okay.
So I got to watch her morph in the way that she needed to in order to find success with both groups. So that was also fascinating too.
Yeah. I did a little research on her too. She's quite the gal, very exceptional.
Yeah, incredibly successful. Yeah.
So do you remember, you went into college, you were thinking about civil engineering, and then all of a sudden, did you switch to education? Did that happen in your undergrad or not?
Yeah, it absolutely happened pretty quickly. So it's really bizarre when you do your whole college recruitment and your college search process based on a major. And I guess growing up in Northern California, right, I had experienced the quake of '89 and plenty of others in between. So for me, just civil engineering and building buildings, like I wanted to build earthquake-proof buildings, and just that was kind of my thing. And I was a nerd girl, so I loved science, I loved math, and Tufts was the first school that really kind of checked all the boxes for me. Is that I didn't have to pick a sport, so I didn't have to pick either volleyball or softball. I could do both, and I could be an engineer. So that's what I thought I really wanted to do. And then when I got here and found out according to me, how restrictive the engineering curriculum was, I was like, but that class looks really cool and that class looks cool. So I was just your typical liberal arts nerd girl who was in a candy shop of awesome classes that I'd never heard of. And I'm like, I want to do that and I want to do this. And so it was, it really happened actually pretty quickly. I was just like, you know what? I think I want to be, I don't know what majors I picked, but I probably changed it multiple times, ended up being a psych major. So I did end up majoring in psychology. And then when I graduated, Chris Herman gave me the opportunity to be a graduate assistant coach, which was awesome, and would pay for my master's degree in full if I would be an assistant for both sports, which was a phenomenal, again, opportunity that I didn't know was building me for where I am now. But I took the opportunity, and ended up getting my master's in education. And I say every day that things happen. I use both every day, right? It's psychology and education, and the court is my classroom. So it pretty much worked out,
It worked out. Yeah, I think so. I also noticed when doing some research that, Tufts has a lot of coaches there that were also athletes there. And lifers. I think they found it. Yeah, they found a secret. And I'm kind of curious, I'm sure that's such an advantage for you when you're recruiting and you're, figuring out how to sell your program, how to tell them about what this is all about. Yep. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I think you kind of nailed it. It's pretty special. You don't go to a lot of places where you have so many alums who some have even left and come back, like Casey Denolfo, our men's lacrosse coach. I mean, he left for a bit and came back. Martha Whiting, our women's soccer, has been here forever. I mean, and honestly, Chris Herman was here too until she got the opportunity at Williams and it was close to her family. And first of all, I think in order, there's pros and cons to it, right? The pros are, yes, I know this place inside and out. I know Boston. Obviously, I'm still here, so I believe in the quality of the mission of the university, the mission of the athletic department. Everything has grown around me during this time. Yeah. So athletics is now very much on the map. And I would say the landscape of Division III athletics and college athletics in general has changed so much in the last 20, 25 years. So it's been awesome to be a part of the growth that the university has had and that Division III has had, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
So I think if you're going to be in the same place, and this was my fear, and I think I might have mentioned to this prior, but like my biggest fear was finding my dream job at 24.
Yeah.
So when I got offered the job, I mean, at first I was a very naive little 24-year-old. I was like, sure, sounds cool. It sounds awesome. It's a paycheck. It's, not having any idea how lucky I was. I started to see that pretty early on. I'm like, oh my gosh. And then I'm like, I love this so much. But I think just having a growth mindset myself, constantly looking for challenges, I was really afraid of being in the same place. And I'm like, I have to make sure that I continue to grow. So I will say it's been a very conscious lifer assignment, if you will. It's like, okay, if I'm going to be here for life, I need to make sure that I am getting out. I am exploring the world. I'm exploring our country. I'm exploring different coaching methods and mottos and finding mentors in different places. And so I think, it is. They've support that growth here. Clearly the university has invested in athletics. It's not the same place that I played as an athlete. Definitely not. But there is a deep history and deep tradition here that I think you can speak to.
Yeah.
And I can speak to it very genuinely and honestly. And I think that helps. Like you said, in the recruiting, it's not that I'm showing up last year and all of a sudden trying to pitch a program. I'm pitching the depth of legacy and what this place can mean if you invest in it.
Yeah. You guys have a great reputation there. It's just a very awesome athletic program, but also school, looking at some of the majors of the kids that you have.
Right? Oh, I joke all the time. My degree gets more and more valuable every year. People are like, you went to Tufts. I was like, I actually did. Thank you. Thank you very much.
So, in all these seasons, and I think being a part of a program that you are an alumni of, have your foundational goals, program goals, and really some of your objectives remained consistent? Are those I think I read somewhere where there was things that were important to you that were sort of mainstays for you and your program?
Yeah. And I think that's something that honestly forms over time. I think that, especially as a young coach, as a new coach, you're trying to figure it all out right away. And I think what I came to realize pretty quickly is that this was going to be a journey of my own to figure out who I really am, what I'm going to hang on to with all those great coaches. I was so lucky to have so many incredible mentors and coaches. What am I going to take from them? What can I genuinely identify with? And what can I leave? And not because it's necessarily bad, but because it's not me, if that makes sense. And sometimes I think that sounds bad, or sometimes even mentors are like, oh, you're not going to do it that way. And it's like, because I can't do it genuinely. I don't feel like that's who I am. But I think the spirit in all of it, right, is that we want to work hard. We want to be selfless. We want to always give to our left and to our right. We want to make sure that we're taking care of those around us. I always have a saying, and all my athletes will say it, you're either giving or you're taking. There's no in between. And sometimes, and it's not a bad thing. Sometimes we need to take, but we find ourselves taking more than giving. We need to start to find a way if we can balance that back out. There's sayings like that that I think are really important. Kind of that sense of family, and that it's bigger than just the X's and O's, I think. And you start to realize that what our student athletes are gaining from these athletic experiences are so important. Like life lessons they don't even know they're learning until maybe they see later on in life, like, oh, like that's why we did it that way. And or what we do as a team and how supportive we are as a program how that goes beyond graduation. I still call all of my alums for the most part. I don't forget birthdays, and, you're trying to stay in touch with them because you want them to know that it was more. I needed you for more than just points on the board, right? You were part of an ecosystem that carries on. And so, I think just kind of having a strong legacy of doing things the right way, being great humans, and also knowing that there's a process with that too. We're growing. We're trying to figure out how to communicate, how to navigate tough situations. And I feel like I do a lot more of that. And then that translates to the success on the court, right?
Yeah,
you're dealing with confidence. You're dealing with egos. You're dealing with, like just the self-doubt in general. Like, am I smart enough to be at this school? Am I good enough to be on this team? And it's just, it's amazing, what you have to deal with.
Yeah, it surprises me sometimes that how often there is that question of themselves, like the self-confidence piece that you really nurture along in some cases. Probably in others, you may kind of try to pull back just a hair.
Yeah.
But that's also a really big part of having success in coaching.
It's a huge part. And I think that part of what we do is build this belief and this trust in between our coaching staff and our athletes that really lets them know that we're on their side. I think that when you're pushing them out of their comfort zones to do things that they're not comfortable with, they need to trust that you kind of have an idea of where they might end up, and then they buy in a little bit more. And so I think that was a huge thing for me early on, that I'm like, the relationships are so much more important. And if they believe that you really believe in them, that goes miles. I think the coaches, with egos or, that will yell at their student athletes, like it doesn't, for me, it hasn't worked. And again, that's not genuinely me. And I don't find that my athletes have ever responded to that. So I think that's been a big piece of it is, figuring out what kind of relationship I need to have with each of my student athletes and our coaching staff needs to have, and then how we can propel them forward based on that trust that we've gained, which is always most interesting with rookies, right? Because they're coming from what worked. And if you kind of mess with the creed that's in their head, it could be challenging. But I love that challenge. I love that challenge of, like I was saying, I've had so many great coaches do it different ways. Yeah. So,
you're building these incredible relationships probably in the recruiting process, also.
Yep.
And I don't know what it's like for you there, but, I know sometimes your recruiting base is pretty large to make sure that you can, fill every spot you have, which, by the way, how many kids on your team do you
So we have 20 on the roster right now. And 18 was kind of and is still kind of my dream number. I love 18. Yeah. It's divisible by 2 and 3, just to be a coach's mind, which I always, not for nothing, NCAA, but like when they said you can only dress 17 for when you go to the tournament, I'm like, it's divisible by nothing. Why would it? And then so it's like you either keep 16 or you keep 18 and then tell one kid they're not playing. It drive me crazy. But anyway, sidebar. So I think once COVID hit, that's where we actually kind of went up to 20.
Yeah.
And part of that was because I felt like any kid who survived those COVID years, I just felt like deserved to be on this roster. I think we went through a lot. This whole world went through a lot. Yeah. And for me, I didn't want to take away the one thing that was actually consistent. So when it came to having to make just roster decisions, I was like, I can't say no to 2 kids who just went through that year with us. And, no, like we went through a lot, and I think that bonded us. And from there, it really didn't go down. And part of that was because, right, kid gets COVID, they're out for 2 weeks, and you're like, well, there's my depth, or, so it's kind of been what's best for our program every year, but that's where we've been hovering.
So when you're out recruiting and you're looking for the athlete and the student athlete that's going to fit at Tufts, how would you describe the ideal student that you're looking for, or sort of a broad, somewhere in between? I realize that, you're never going to just nail that one spot, but
everyone has their type, right? So, I think it is very, very true. Like I just said, the coaches, I think, have their type. And it's funny nowadays, like when I'm going out recruiting, I'll see an athlete, I'll actually be like, you know what? That kid seems like a blank kid, pick any school. Like that's a UMass kid. That's an Amherst kid. That's and I'm sure they do it for me too. But I think I need someone first and foremost who just loves life. Right. I love those student athletes who are just so excited about everything that is life. They're curious. They're
curious.
I think you want them to be curious, right? Because then they're always going to want to know what's next and how else, and just learners, right? And I think that naturally comes with a high academic kid, but they need to be curious. I love personalities that don't necessarily mean that they're loud and boisterous like maybe I am, but I love those kids that are kind of sly and quiet, but then they just drop that snarky, funny joke every once in a while and it cracks up the whole room, I think I've done a pretty good job of creating personalities. I say, like, listen, if we choose who we're surrounded with, they're going to be great people. They're going to be funny people. We're going to be entertained. Where we're going to work hard together. I want people that are driven and self-motivated. I think, sometimes there's some athletes out there, and I had teammates like this that unless the coach was on them, they weren't going to give much, and I think that I've been very blessed to find student athletes that if anything, I need to pull the reins on them and say, like, hey, listen, you're going way too hard. You need to rest your body, and I find that that's more my challenge is they're trying to do too much sometimes. And I'm like, you're overtraining right now and you're overthinking it. And sometimes less is more. And this is one of those moments. So, I think you find those driven kids. I love the kids, which I guess it's kind of, I don't know how I would explain how I see it, but I feel it. I love the kids that are connecting with their teammates. And it's not always just the high five. It's like, honestly, Janice, it's genuinely connecting. They're making eye contact. If it's a setter, like they look like they've just connected, whether it's a fraction of a second that they look at the hitter or something more intense, but you can tell that they understand how to properly engage with their teammates to get the most out of them. So I look for student athletes that are going to make those around them better. And because we have such a deep roster here at Tufts, I always tell them, I'm like, listen, the difference is, if I got two kids of equal skill, I'm putting the kid out there that's going to make the others around her better. Right. So if you've got a solo person out there who's great statistically, but doesn't really connect with anybody, that's going to be hard. That's going to be challenging, no matter what position. So I think that's something that's huge for me is I want someone who is going to value those team connections and truly understand that they'll be stronger with their teammates. So that kind of gives you a good idea, but they got to be entertaining. We got to have some fun if we're doing this. So we work too hard not to be laughing and having fun. And oh my gosh, they get on me so badly. I am the brunt of jokes too. I'll tell you, it's a friendly atmosphere, but
I think the joy, the fun, they learn how to work hard and your kids are probably already there. They understand what it requires of them to be really successful.
Yeah.
But connection is that one super special piece. And I'm watching a lot of volleyball right now and the teams that I'm seeing and I'm like, oh my God, they are so deep into that. And it's everywhere through the whole, of what we get to see, coaches to players to people on the bench. And it like that gives me goosebumps. I have goosebumps right now kind of thinking about that because it is the most incredible experience that you can have.
Absolutely. I mean, it's like, it's that it factor, right? And it's actually, we're in the midst of it right now. Like this group has it. And I told them that in the beginning. I'm like, listen, I've coached a lot of teams and over a lot of years. And sometimes you just know when a group has it. That doesn't always translate into championships. Right. That's not what it's about. But when you see a group so invested in getting it right to the best of their ability, as a coach, that is the sweet spot. You're like, this is it. And now what we've done to build up to that is a whole nother podcast probably. But I was really excited when I saw them come in this preseason, not only being super driven, super fit, super accountable, like our leadership is great. Our followership is great. Followership, however you want to, it's like, it's so everybody is supporting each other. And it doesn't mean that it's it. And now you rest on your laurels. You've done work. I tell them, I'm like, it is there. If you foster it and you take care of it and you guard it with everything, we're going to be in business. Some really great things could happen this season, right? But we can't take that for granted because it is very special when it happens. So so I'm excited.
So let's talk about what it takes to put that team together. We were speaking about your staff and, Wow. I mean, you have a pretty incredible group of leaders there. So talk to me a little bit about that, kind of your philosophy of that and maybe some things that you find you have to do to try to have the best shot at creating this trusting and group that are going to guide these young women.
A lot of it is not having an ego, right? I talk a lot to our team about the difference between having confidence and having an ego, right? Like there's always a little bit of both, but you want to keep it in balance. But I do think that being confident in what we do is really important. And as coaches, I think that's really huge too. I think that sometimes egos can get in the way of our vision when we're more worried about what our team results are going to say about us, right? Or, I think that ego piece of it does need to be there because obviously a lot of jobs are based on how our teams do. I'm not going to say that results aren't important, but when it comes to the process, right, when you're in the thick of it and it's during the season, I don't want there to be ego involved. I want us to be all fully on board with the student athletes' growth, mentally, physically, emotionally, all of that, right? And meeting them where they're at. So having coaches that are able to realistically see, this is where we're at. This is where let's try to get them to, right? Like figure out what's the bar look like for this particular group? How can we raise it, right? In a way that allows them to experience some success. And that could be realistic for them, and then of course you raise that. And then as they meet it, you keep raising it, be like, all right, we're there. Let's go. Keep pushing it. So I've been very fortunate to be surrounded with some amazing assistant coaches and staffs over my tenure here. It's been amazing. And I have found that those who kind of can subscribe to that are the best fit for me. When they put the athlete's experience first, when yes, we all want the W's. We wouldn't be in this if we weren't in for winning it all, right? Like that's okay to say. There's no shame in saying we want to win a conference championship. We want to host the regionals. We want to go to the NCAA finals. Like no harm in saying that. But then when you're dialing in each day, you need to make sure that you're doing as much as you can to put those athletes in a position to succeed. And I've been very lucky to find that.
Yeah. Several coaches that I had a chance to find out have described you as their biggest coaching mentor and credit you with giving them the confidence to pursue head coaching positions. What does mentorship mean to you, and how do you approach developing these relationships with probably some of your competitors? I'm guessing is who you know.
Yeah.
Congrats on that. I find that really wonderful.
Thank you.
Because it grows our game. And I don't know what all your intention is, if there's anything specific there, but that's really awesome to have them say about you.
Thank you so much for saying that. I think it's something that has been important to me early on. I think the cheesy saying of have an attitude of gratitude. I have from the first game. I'm grateful that I was given this opportunity. I've always tried to prove, even though I'm on my third athletic director right now, I've always tried to prove that the hire was a good hire. Like you didn't mess up in hiring me. I've always kind of felt like that. But in order to feel more confident myself as a young coach, I have a lot of people to thank who took me under their wing, helped give me perspective, helped me straight up with the X's and O's. Yeah. So many mentors. I think part of it comes from my personality and that I am also curious. As much as I talk about recruiting curiosity, I remain very curious. I'm constantly looking for information and ways that I can grow and different things I can learn. So I do think mentorship is a huge part of why I am here today doing what I'm doing, right? This is not just, I wasn't born this way. This was something that was developed and people saw something in me perhaps and really helped bring the best out of me. So I think it kind of started naturally happening, as you don't realize you're aging. And then all of a sudden your people who come to work your camps are still 22 and 25 and 26. And you're like, oh my gosh, So honestly, Janice, I think it started kind of happening. But I did find that when I initially started our summer camps and clinics with a good friend of mine, we started to find out that it was a great opportunity for us to learn, right? You invite all these different coaches to come help you. I cherish that as an opportunity to learn from my peers. And a lot of people joke, they're like, you invite all your competitors. And I'm like, yeah, but they're brilliant and they know things. And I want to know I want to watch them coach. I want to know what they know. So it's kind of turned into this opportunity to learn from others. And then as I got older, some of those young coaches became head coaches and would send their assistant coaches my way, or, and it's more than anything, I always kind of just wanted it to be a networking thing. I wanted them to know more people in the business and people that they could talk to. And even like some of the youngest coaches who've met each other, who are now each other's bridesmaids, and I'm going to weddings. This all started at camp, and it's like, it's so exciting to be a part of that evolution. But I think what started for me is like, I want people to network, not really knowing what that meant. It turned into me housing them and renting houses. And now I rent a 3-floor house on our campus during the summer, a graduate house. And it has 20 rooms, and I put all the coaches in there. It's just like any camp, right? Where you put all your coaching staff in a dorm. There's nothing revolutionary about the idea, but it is very cool that, we work 9 to 4. They all go out and get dinner. I'm here grinding at the office, but it kind of happens organically where they'll start to exchange ideas, and then they make these new friendships, and then they stay in touch over the year and support each other. And for me, that just means the world. And as much as I'm so grateful. I guess I don't really think about what I'm doing. I just do it. But as you're saying this, I'm thinking about my 45-minute drive in this morning, and I had 3 female young coaches call me.
Oh, you're kidding me.
One got her first win. I was so excited. And we were talking leadership the other day. It was just an off the cuff call. The next one was calling me. I had just played her team this weekend and wanted to know what I thought of her team and the vibe. And she had just been at camp this last summer. She's like, what do you think our vibe is? Like, what would you say? How would you describe our team? And it was just these organic conversations that happened. And then I got here to the office preparing for this, and I get another text from a coach down in Rhode Island who was like, I want to know what you keep for stats on the bench. I always see you taking notes. Like, and sure as anything, before I jump on this call, I'm like, I'll send you my stat sheet. So I take a picture of it and I send it, and that was 3 interactions before 11 a.m. this morning.
Yeah.
So I started to realize, and it's funny that this is all happening right now as I come in, but that as much as we're making an impact, I think it's also a responsibility of us coaches who've been in it, and I'm not going to be coaching forever. I'm not going to be here forever. And, when you think about the impact that you want to have, I want to try to help all these women find out who they are, and even as much as we're talking about the women, I have a lot of young male coaches who have been awesome guys to grow up with and watch grow and see them take on their own programs and learn how to scout and recruit. And so I just want to help the sport grow. And I think I want to help build coaches that can be confident and also vulnerable in understanding what they know and what they don't. Because I think that's where I got caught up when I was young, is thinking I had to know it all right away. And that's where I talk about kind of that ego often comes from lack of confidence and trying to pretend you're something you're not. And now, even to this day, as a coach, the girls ask me something, I'll be like, I don't know, dude, can you give me an hour? Let me think about it. I don't actually have a question for you. Where in the other days, I would have probably tried to make something up or switch the topic, or now I just straight up own it. I'm like, I don't know.
They'll catch you on it anyway, if you do try to.
Well, and that's what you start to realize, right? It's like, and I think that's what I'm trying to, more than anything, instill in these young coaches is that, permission to be yourself now. Be yourself now. And I made that switch consciously my 3rd year coaching. And I can almost remember, I remember where I was. I remember the athlete I was having the conversation with. To this day, it was a game changer. I basically found myself admitting, because this player came for my previous coach, my head coach. And then all of a sudden she finds herself now playing for a 1st-year head coach or a 2nd-year head coach who doesn't have the experience and quote unquote is not what she signed up for. Right. And, I wanted to be everything that the previous coach was, but I also couldn't. I wasn't her. You can't rush experience. I didn't have it. And it was a real come to Jesus moment in terms of like just being honest. And I had to admit to her, I'm like, listen, I know I don't know anything. I know I'm trying, but what I can promise you is that I'm competitive as all hell, just like you are. I sure as hell want to figure it out, and I need you to be able to do it.
How'd that work?
Great. I mean, there were tears, but but it was, but I think by me being honest and admitting exactly where we all knew I was, which was not a good head coach yet. And I think I gained her respect in that moment of just coming clean and saying, you're right. I'm not who you signed up to play for. I'm not. And I won't be, but I'm going to be here. So I want you to want to be on this journey with me. And I think that moment was a real game changer early on for me about just owning who you are, where you're at this time, and recognizing that your journey is just starting. And everybody going forward has that opportunity to be a part of your journey, and you're also part of theirs. And that's an awesome responsibility. So
That's
like
true.
I said, I remember that moment very clearly. And to this day, it's one of the most defining moments of my young career, my career.
Powerful.
Probably.
Yeah. Powerful. Yeah. I got some other notes here on you. The outside coaches love the way you carry yourself. So what does authentic leadership look like to you?
Yeah.
It's you're juggling so many responsibilities.
Sure.
And those go beyond just your work, but your family, your kids, your dog.
Yeah. Yeah. My water heater. Can we bring in my water heater right now? Because that just blew last night. Yeah. I appreciate that. Yeah. Thank you. I mean, again, I think it's being comfortable in who you are and being genuine with others and interactions. I think it's embracing your competitors and genuinely doing that. Like people say, you have all of your competitors work camps with you. And I'm like, well, that's the key point. They're working with me, not for me, as I see it. And I think that valuing the intellectual minds that are out there, so many great coaches. And I don't only watch the X's and O's. I watch how they interact with their team. I watch them in timeouts, and I think I'm so lucky to be in an area, and even in Division III, just across the country, like Vanessa at Wash U, and you've got Jenny down at Emory for the longest time. I mean, I was just in awe of her growing up as a young coach, playing her and getting my butt kicked. But, it was amazing. So I think I really took that into account. And then I also saw some coaches that when I was young, it didn't, like, the vibes weren't good. It struck me as, I'm like, I don't want to be perceived as that. I don't think that you're doing your athletes justice, and I don't think you're representing your program well. So again, I think I'm really kind of a product of observation, really. I don't know if that's a thing, but I think I've observed a lot and seen, okay, what I can relate to and what I think is important. Win or lose, you keep your chin up, you respect your opponent. I want to play the best of the best. I want to be beat, because that exposes us for where we need to get better. Again, when there's no ego involved, just this strong desire to learn and to grow, I think that's a huge piece of what can allow you to be grateful for that competition. Win or lose. I think that's a big piece. And I think I'm also unfiltered, so I think they enjoy the entertainment. I'll be genuine, and I'm going to be unfiltered, so I think they enjoy the entertainment. That's where I think some of that comes from too. Like, Cora's going to tell you exactly what she thinks and whether she should or not. But I always worry.
Let's talk a little bit about your hashtag JVBC Gives initiative.
Yeah, love it.
It's pretty incredible. I'm not going to say anything more about it. Can you talk to us a little bit about that and what inspired you to sort of get this going?
To be honest, the program had been going for about 10 years, camps, and the following had grown, incredible participation nationally, internationally. Kids were coming from all over the place. And I think it really kind of grew into something that bigger than what I thought it could ever be, and a lot of that all of that is a tribute to all of the incredible coaches that come and work with me, because I think that the student athletes who are there, learn so much. Like, I just have great technicians, if you will, all around me. And so no matter what court you're on, no matter what level, no matter how many years of experience, you're getting invested in, right? But then I know that, to be quite honest, if I can be vulnerable with whoever is going to watch this podcast, I was going through a really, really hard time in life. And I was feeling really sorry for myself, and just really upset and on a lot of ways. And I realized that I was spending, and I actually have never told this story before, Janice, so this is, pardon me if I get a little emotional here. But I spent time going into that next summer of 2019, really thinking about what I was dwelling on and how I could flip the script, and how a few other people in my life were going through tough times too. And I'm like, you know what? Nothing feels better in this world than making a positive impact. And I had some people that really affected me negatively. And as a result, I'm like, you know what? I really need to flip the script. And the best way I can move on in my life from a very painful chapter is to be able to give and to make a difference and make a real positive impact. Because I think at that moment I realized, like, wow, my whole taking or giving thing is very real. If you're not giving, you're taking. And so I'm like, you know what? I want to give more. And I think that's kind of where it came from. And then realizing that we had this ability to donate and to give a chunk of our proceeds back. I thought it would mean so much more if it was coming from our campers, you know? and our players. And so the first year I started it, every session I would put a big heart on the whiteboard that we have on our main court and say, if there's something that you care about, a cause, and it can be very personal to if you have a GoFundMe or something, just put up there what is hurting your heart or what you'd like to give to. And so it was really interesting to see that come out. And then at the end of the camp or that particular clinic, kids would come back from lunch and just vote for the 3. If they put one up, maybe they did, maybe they didn't. And we donate to the top 3. And that's how it started. Yeah. Then I started realizing, I'm like, there's some really personal things up here. And after a couple of years, I'm like, I'm going to donate to anything that gets on this board, because if it's on this board, someone cares about it, and so we did that every single clinic. And honestly, the stats that you have, I wish I could update them. I have not updated them since 2023, but the amount of charities and organizations and funds that we've given to is up over 100 now. And
wow. Okay.
Yeah,
sure.
I need to update that website. It was just so daunting. I was like, oh my God. So I apologize to people who are looking at that website. Please let me update it. And I really did it for coaches too. And I made our coaches, I'm like, listen, there's stuff that is really important to all of you as well. And so I think it made me feel really good about what we were doing. And because not for nothing, there was a lot of clinics and these camps and showcases. I get their purpose in life, but they're really expensive. They're really, really expensive. And I've heard from a lot of people, like, you could charge so much more for your camp and your clinic. I'm like, I won't, because accessibility is important to me. And yes, are you getting coached by Paul Dill at MIT and Aaron Cady from Bowdoin? And I mean, I don't even want to start listing them because there's too many to count, but yes, but we're doing this because we love it. We're giving a chunk of our proceeds. And then we get visibility, right? So I don't know if you saw our Instagram post, but at the end of every clinic, we push fun pictures of the clinic. And then the last page is all the causes or foundations that we donated to for that clinic. So it started kind of from a tough place in my life, but then has blown up to, I don't even remember about that anymore. Yeah. And I've moved on to be like, this is an awesome way that we can make an impact. And I think that the parents and the players that come, I think it's also kind of planting that seed of understand your privilege, your ability to give back. I talk about how it's not always monetary. So we talk about giving time and even just investment is huge. And so I really hope that, it does leave a lasting impact on those players and coaches that have come through, and that they'll consider doing something the same. Even just a small shout out and recognition for a lot of these organizations is huge, right? You're putting them on the map. You're helping with visibility. Yeah. So,
well, you had one of our staff, Emily Hayes.
I love her.
I mean, Emily Hayes.
She's a fan favorite.
Yeah. Oh God, is she so fun or what?
She's great. She's absolutely wonderful. Best human.
And I know she was sharing what the Side Out Foundation is doing and with Dig Pink. And I know she's pretty excited about the possible conference participation. But tell me, from your take, and if I don't want to put you on the spot here, but what did you learn from her about Dig Pink or the Side Out Foundation that you didn't know before?
Yeah, what I think was amazing and what I did learn and what I think is absolutely fantastic is how the foundation supports actual care. Like I thought it was more so like initially, and it's so funny because I've known about the Side Out Foundation and Dig Pink games and all this. I always, always connected it directly to research and research only. But to learn from her that there were all these extended services and that those who are either affected or have a family member or loved one going through it could reach out to the organization for additional support. That was something so special, so new that I'm embarrassed to say I didn't know. Yeah. But I think that in of itself was one of the coolest things to learn. And just thank you so much for everything your foundation does, because I think that is truly life-changing too, right? We're trying to research, but also we've got people going through it right now. So how can we support those who are warriors and battling it right now? So,
I have a friend of mine who's going through metastatic and,
oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
And I contacted her and so she's working with us and we're doing whatever we can, to try to find her the best treatment options. And that's one of the big pieces for us right now that we provide that to, more time is the critical piece here.
Well, and I just love it's very multifaceted, right? What you're doing. There's a lot of different prongs to the organization and the foundation that I simply adore. I'm grateful for, and there's so many people who are so grateful for everything you guys are doing, Janice. So I really appreciate that more than anything.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I did, as I was doing my research with you, enjoyed the Jumbo story.
Yes, the story of Jumbo. Yes.
He was a real elephant. He was transported across the ocean.
Yes, ma'am.
The whole story is, if you haven't listened to it or watched it, you guys, you need to go to their website. You need to look it up because it's truly inspiring. And
yes,
I don't know how big this guy was, but apparently this elephant was gigantic. Jumbo.
He was.
He brought the word jumbo into the world.
Yes. So jumbo popcorn, jumbo pretzels, that's all coined from our elephant Jumbo. Yes, absolutely.
And he's still your mascot.
Yes.
Every time, well, when I initially saw that a few years back, and I'm like, wow, they have an elephant.
Yes. Join the stampede.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, there it is.
There it is. I know. That's beautiful. I love it.
No, it is an amazing story.
Yeah. It was a sad ending, and then the fire and some other things too. I was just like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's pretty tragic, but he was a hero.
He was
at the end of the day, he was a hero. So put himself in the line. Yeah.
So, if you could give advice to a young player, who's getting ready to kind of enter this recruiting process, or just even in development to get to a place where they could seek a dream to play somewhere.
Yeah.
What would be the words that you would like to have them sit with?
Recruiting, it can be a wild adventure. It is a wild adventure. Not it can be, it is. And I think more than anything, what I tell young prospects who come through our camps and clinics and just come through my office is that, you should be interviewing us as much as we're interviewing you, right? So I think a lot of young girls get caught up in wanting to play for a dream school or wanting to play for a certain program, but looking from the outside in is one thing. But I do think really making sure that the school as a whole fits what you need, right? Is it the right atmosphere? Is it the right student body? Is it the right place for you academically? Yes. Is the coaching staff, a group that you could see yourself being with? But I also caution people because there's a lot of movement. There hasn't been on my part, but there's a lot of movement in the coaching world. There's a recruiting point. I'm not going anywhere. But you never know, like something could happen. So you need to make sure that you get a feeling for the culture of the program that you're stepping into and the vibe, and that it's going to be a place where you feel like you can grow and a place that's going to push you to grow. So I think that's equally important as much as we're evaluating student athletes. They need to be evaluating us and what we're offering as well. So
what do you think is as they're trying to look at the cultural piece?
Yeah. What
would you say they should focus on, or what do you think they should be looking at to try to get a sense about that? Because you're kind of, you're not in it.
Well, you're removed. Exactly.
If you are for just a short period of time on a visit, but
I always tell them that hopefully they have a good gut and they keep their eyes wide open. But I think just how coaches, even if you just watch one practice, how does the coach operate in that arena, and how are they setting up drills? How are they communicating with their athletes? How do they communicate with their assistants? So a day in the life of, I always say that even if we can't give a ton of official visits, get on campus and ask to watch practices. I always say practices are way more telling than games, right? Games are showtime, right? But practices are where all the daily work happens. So when the girls are like, oh, when do you play? And I'm like, come to a practice. It's going to be so much more. I know the game's entertaining and whatnot, but you can watch that online. It's like come and see, watch how the girls interact as they're coming into the gym, right? How are they engaging? How are they talking? Are they invested in each other? We have a whiteboard that has our goals on it right away and the plan for the practice on the other side. How are things set up? Is it an atmosphere that you can grow in? And I do think it takes some mindful observation. And then, of course, the questions that the coaches ask you and the questions that they ask of us, I think are really important. And when you get to coaching philosophy, I think every coach kind of dreads that. What's your coaching philosophy? Like, oh my God, it's ever changing, but I do think kind of getting an idea for if the coach knows what they really stand for, and what's important to them. And for us, we will say no to a player who's very, very good. And I might find on the other side of the net, if she doesn't fit into our culture, I'll be like, no, that's not going to work. Like ultimately she's a great player, but at the end of the day, she's not going to better our team chemistry. Right. So you have to find the coaches who are willing to say no to that talent because you know what? I'll get way further with this group here as opposed to just having this one player here who might taint the rest. So, I think there's a lot of observing, and you need to ask questions. You need to ask about experiences. What's one of the toughest situations maybe you've had as a coach? What are some growing moments you've had? Get an idea of who their mentors are. I ask them all the time. I'm like, out of all your favorite coaches, what did you like the most? What stands out? Because I'm trying to figure out how they want to be coached.
Curiosity.
Yeah, 100%. Comes back to curiosity. Exactly. And I think you got to ask the questions and you got to get a feel. And again, for me, I don't know how everybody else does it because I'm not recruiting other coaches, but I think that at the end of the day, I'm genuine and honest in that moment. I make it clear what we stand for, that we're a safe place. We're an inclusive place. I want to make sure that everybody knows they can come as they are. And we're going to support their journey, whatever that might be, even if they don't know what their journey is. Like, I'm here to support that. So I think understanding that there's going to be care and support, and it's not just about what you can produce as an athlete, is crucial. I think it's crucial. We care about them as humans, as student athletes and as humans, This is a really hard profession. It's a really hard profession. And every once in a while, you will sit back, as I did a while ago, and be like, is this worth it? What am I doing? Like, this is hard. It's, you get challenged by different parents or players or situations, college situations. I mean, 23 years in, 25 if you count the assistant years, I've seen a lot. I've witnessed a lot, had to deal with a lot. And at the end of the day, I think even as recently as this past year, I really kind of examined my why. Why am I doing this? And I think that needs to be very clear. And I think that needs to drive your decisions on a daily basis. And I know there's lots of books out there about it, but I do think that's something that I've really embraced as recently as this past spring, of really thinking about my why statement. And I had written one early on in my career, and I had it actually, it's so old, Janice. Let me actually show you this. I know for the podcast, people who are listening won't be able to see this, but look how old this is.
Oh,
it's
yeah. Your ink is
faded
fading
on a note card, right? It was so old. That. And I read it to my team. I put my team through this process too. I'm like, let's understand what our why is. And I read this, and a lot of it still stands today, which I was encouraged to see. But then a lot of it seems so elementary. And I'm like, my why is deeper. I need to redo this. I need to really think about this.
I hadn't done it.
Do you want to? Oh my gosh.
Sure.
Do you want to hear the old one or the new one? Let me get the
whatever you're willing to share.
Oh my God, you're so sweet. I'm an open book. See, remember, I have no filter. So you ask and you shall receive.
Okay.
So my interest, because it's a little faded, so don't judge me here, but my original one that I wrote from a long time ago says, I am a passionate coach with the drive to inspire, support, and motivate my student athletes and staff to grow beyond their comfort zones on and off the court. I am committed to instilling confidence daily while encouraging them to believe in themselves and their dreams unconditionally. That was my initial one.
That's pretty darn good for your initial.
That was my baby. I must have been 26, maybe 26. Okay. You want the 48-year-old version?
Polished. Yeah.
Oh, God. I know. Now I hope this doesn't let you all down. I'm about to read you all the secrets. All right. So Vijay is in our journey.
Yeah, there
journals.
we go. Got to have jumbo.
So my current one, I coach because I deeply value and respect the opportunity I have been given to impact generations of genuinely curious, strong, resilient, and complex student athletes. I am humbled and honored to assist daily in the growth of my players physically, mentally, and emotionally while they navigate the rigors of ever-changing environments both on and off the court. The desire to be challenged and challenge others runs in my blood, and there is no profession that could challenge me more while combining all of my passions, which are learning, competing, and relationship building. To be able to foster true, unfiltered, and fiercely loyal relationships built on trust, respect, and the love of the game is an absolute dream. To be able to create safe and inclusive spaces for this growth while striving daily for positive impact is a responsibility and an opportunity that I will never take for granted. Number 21.
There you go. I gotta, if I could drop this mic, I would drop it right now.
You are so sweet.
That was excellent, Cora. What a fun time I've had. And thank you for sharing so much about you and your program. I appreciate all the words of wisdom and just wish you the best with the rest of your season and life.
Yeah, I appreciate it all. This has been such an awesome honor.
You're going the big picture here, and maybe that's what makes you so special.
Oh, thank you so much, Janice, for this opportunity. And thank you for everything you've done for our sport and obviously for the foundation. I feel like I'm speaking to a legend, so I'm a little starstruck myself. I did tell Terry Condon that you'd say hi, and
good.
She says hi back. So
did she remember anything about that time that she interviewed?
She did. She did. And she did remember
Maybe this
being
is off
there.
record.
Yeah, this might be our, do we have enough cut time there? But no.
Yeah, we can.
She's, yeah. You know what? I think to be a pioneer herself as applying for the Nebraska job and being there as a candidate and kind of going back to that time where it was an all male world for the most part, and so your question about her actually really triggered I'm curious, right? I'm like, Coach, like you never told me you were a finalist for the Nebraska job, and maybe I'm outing her completely right now on this, but I think, it was really interesting to kind of hear about that environment and to hear about what she thought, what she shared. But she's a closed book, so I really try to have to pry it open every once in a while. I'm like, but I got some stuff out of her. So, but yeah, she does remember it, and I think she's so humble about that kind of stuff, and she's like, yeah. It wasn't going to be the good fit.
She was such a star. I mean, what a player.
Still is.
That was, and still is. Yeah.
Still is.
Well, tell her hi. And again, Cora, thank you so much. And best of luck with starting your conference play
Thank you
this
so much.
weekend.
Yeah.
And
it's going to be tough. It's going to be good.
I look forward to watching your team continue to grow and improve. And best of luck.
Oh, thank you, Janice. I appreciate it. Have a great one.
Thank you for listening. Please share your feedback with us at side-out.org.